What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Shooting the Shit Uncensored. It's me, your beautiful host, the bald, the bearded, the beautiful Piers Austin, and we are brought to you by Multi-Continental Wrestling Alliance on Facebook and on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram as well, soon to be on Twitch, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. Guys, tonight we have part 2 with IWA owner and promoter Mark Mercedes. But before I bring Mark out, I just want to take a quick pause to thank some of our sponsors who make this show possible every single week. First up is A-Rock Design. So A-Rock Designs is that company you're seeing all over all the wrestling Facebook pages, the groups. They make custom wrestling cups, hoodies, t-shirts, keychains, tumblers, you name it, they make it. They made me my custom CM Punk tumbler, which I need to get a Shooting the Shit one, which is on its way. But guys, they do a fantastic price for a fantastic product. So please head over and check out A-Rock Designs, run by Ashley Rodriguez. My next sponsor is Signal Studios. Guys, if you're an independent professional wrestler and you need some new entrance music, my boy Rafi from Signal Studios can hook you up on a different level. He can mix, master, and send that song out to you anywhere in the world. Or if you're a local musician, you need a place to rehearse or a place to record. They have the most comfortable setup for you that you will be able to get your juices flowing. But guys, without further ado, I can see we got a few people in the comments. We got Joel Southgate, Courtney Easley also here tonight. So let's bring him out. The man himself, Mark Mercedes. Mark, welcome back.
Hello, welcome. Thank you.
Mate, everyone, man, I'm doing good, buddy. I'm excited to get you back. It's you're a guy that doesn't do a lot of interviews, and the fact that we've got you on twice, I'm definitely thankful for you giving your time up on a Monday evening. But Mark, picking up from our last conversation that we had not too long ago, IWA's next show, Relentless, is this Saturday, the 21st of November at St. John's Park. How excited are you and the IWA crew to finally be able to get back to doing what you guys love to do?
Yeah, I know. Can you believe it's been like 8 months since we've done a wrestling show? It's insane. In fact, I don't think in 25 years I've had 8-9 months off ever. So it's been a really nice rest. I think I really, really needed it in the long term. But no, I'm excited to actually get back and see everyone, see the crew, see the fans. So we've got a really neat little show lined up. Obviously, COVID, social distancing. We have to restrict the numbers, which, is going to be hard. But, still, we're back at it and back doing what we're trying to do, and we're looking forward to it. So, yes, St. John's Park this week, and then starting to work on our annual January tour, which was up until about a week ago still on very rocky ground whether it was going to get off and running, but I'm very excited to stay. The New South Wales January tour is 100% happening, and we are back on the road.
That is fantastic news. That is incredible news. How has it been, obviously, to set up this card, considering in different times? COVID has really put the, wrestling world and pretty much the entire world at a standstill. Has putting this card together been more trying and difficult for you guys because of the measures with COVID?
Yeah, we've had to take a few different, things. I mean, obviously, it's impacting the venue and the numbers and what we can do and the people, and then obviously getting the guys, who's comfortable working and those things. So obviously, everything we've done has had to change. But I've got a good team that work with me in Randall and Rob Oxley, and we have worked pretty tirelessly to get things, and certainly they have always behind the scenes worked extremely hard to make sure that we put on a lot of a good show.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing. IWA is known for putting on, incredible shows over the years and really showcasing some of the top talent here in Australia. There's a couple of matches that I'm pretty excited for, and that's Sam Osborne versus Tree Hugger Lucci. That's going to be a really exciting one. Those two are simply amazing in the ring. I've seen them perform live a couple of times in the past month or so, and these guys are on a different level, and I think that they're really going to be out to show something really special on Saturday night.
Yeah, and I can remember, Lucci, when he broke out, a few years ago, It's just so nice to see how far he's come, and he's really starting. And it does, like any kind of trade, it does take a few years to find within yourself who you are as a wrestler, and not only that is your character and your development and your skills, but certainly it's been really nice to see him come along. He's really come along a really long way and working his way up where he could be main eventing a show. And Sam Osborne's in insane shape. He looks the part, and it's nice to see that we do have such a rich talent pool here. And I think for a long time Australia seemed to be forgotten. Especially with Europe and England and the States, and it's nice to see that finally the world wakes up and see that there's just so many good talent here, and there's just two of many.
Oh, absolutely. And you said that as well, like that how the world was actually starting to take notice of what's happening here in Australia. And I think we mentioned last time briefly that Australian wrestling has been good for many, many years, but it's probably been the last 10 years that Australians have really started to put a print on the wrestling scene internationally, where you've seen guys like Jonah Rock, Buddy Murphy, Emma Tennille Dashwood, Emma, whatever you want to call it, the Iconics, all this Australian talent really starting to be showcased on an international brand. How does that make you feel for someone who's been in it for so long and seeing so much of this talent just improve over the years?
Yeah, well, it's nice, Like, I mean, back when I sort of, I guess, started, there was really no such thing as social media or the access to the America seeing Australia and vice versa. So it was very much a VHS tape and putting stuff together and sending it off, and then the long wait and the correspondence, or actually having to physically go there to be seen. Where these days, you can be seen by so many different media platforms, and certainly promoting yourself. And there's a lot of performers out there who do an extremely good job of pushing themselves and their product, because at the end of the day, you are a product. And if you can sell your product and sell yourself, the greater worth you are to moving on to bigger things. But certainly, the Jonah Rocks and, you're talking about the other guys who've made it to New York. And not only that, there's been many others who have done very well in Japan and Mexico and stuff like that. So it is really nice to see that we really are starting to have a deep talent pool of performers. Because, to you walk around to just anywhere in Australia, you mentioned Australian wrestling. Unfortunately, certainly to a lot of older people, the only thing they can remember is Mario Milano or Spiros Arion. They don't even realize. But now they're actually starting to realize that, there is, a younger generation seeing these guys come through. So it's nice that the legacy continues, because for a long time there, it was just, I guess we're very much an underground sport.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's where, in the last 5 years plus, it's really started to boom. And you mentioned social media, and that's one thing that it's like, it gives these younger guys and this younger talent now, in today's talent, an opportunity to really get themselves out there and build character as well. Like by testing the waters out, it's much easier doing it on social media and developing that character and seeing it unwind. And a lot of guys are doing it these days, not just in Australia, but internationally as well.
Yeah, and just knowing that, just production values in the companies now, and, it's, I guess, access to all that stuff, whereas years ago to come and film your show and put it on and edit it and have all those things was very expensive. And when we first did IWA and did our TV series on Aurora, it was an enormous expense to put TV together, and lighting, and it was a combination of a lot of people who came together to make that work. And I was very, very lucky that I had those people around me, because it was very difficult. Where today, if you get someone who knows what they're doing, it's a lot easier, and you can make your product look really, really good. So it certainly transcends it, and it's working.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, definitely production value is one thing as well, but it's also the in-ring quality as well. You can have a great production, truck out the back and filming, but if the quality is not in the ring, it's going to shine through that TV. And that's one thing that like I said, IWA has been known to put in some very top tier talent over the years. One of which, who will be wrestling on Saturday, is Cowboy Chris Abbott, who, he is looking at I think he has actually become the longest reigning IWA champion.
Don't remind him of that.
He actually reminded me of that when I had you on the first. He actually said, he was like, "Hey, make sure to ask Mark about this, would you?" So he's obviously very excited.
Record, and I'm sure he's very, very happy with himself on that. Look, Cowboy, another guy who's come a long way. When he first started, he had his kind of MMA gimmick, and once again was trying to find himself, and he's just landed on his feet with the Cowboy and just resonates wherever he goes. And I guess being IWA, we're very much a touring act. We get a lot out to the country and the rural area, and when he comes and walks in the ring there, and the people see him, he just has one of those it factors of just, he has that aura walking out. He looks the part and looks great, and not only that, can back it up and have some really great matches. And he's grown a lot and had the luxury of working with a lot of great guys like Jackson Kelly and Jonah Rock and all them people. And he stepped up to the plate and worked hard and has deserved his title run. And another great asset to the Australian wrestling scene.
Oh, mate, absolutely. And he's an absolute gentleman as well. Like, one of the nicest guys that you'd want to talk to.
Don't tell him that.
He's probably watching now, actually. So, but looking at what's going to be coming up, over this Saturday, what can the fans expect from the show? Is it going to be like that same IWA passion through the guys? What can we expect on Saturday night?
I think it's going to be more. I mean, the guys have been waiting also 8-9 months to get out and feed on a live audience. So they're going to be really, really excited to get out there and do something spectacular and really show, get back out and do what they do best. And not that I would say, prior to COVID, they were maybe burnt out, but I mean, certainly we had done a lot of shows, in that last year leading up to it. And sometimes, you kind of not become complacent, but obviously just by nature of doing a lot of shows, you kind of especially someone's going back to the same venue, that break I think might be a really nice kind of thing, because now everyone's sort of had a nice rest and they've really had a good chance to get themselves ready. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
So we have a Facebook user throwing up a comment, which I'm assuming this is Chris Abbott. "I'm watching you, big dog. Tread lightly or I'll chop you on the weekend." Oh, there you go. I think we might see a potential Mark Mercedes coming out of retirement, maybe.
Well, I am back in shape, and I am training pretty hard. So you never know.
There you go, guys. There you go. If you are in Sydney, head to St. John's Park this Saturday for IWA Relentless. Mark Mercedes may be coming out of retirement. Maybe, maybe not. You have to attend to the show and find out. So one thing you were talking about before is building the characters and building a gimmick for these guys and really finding their feet. What has been one gimmick that you've been able to help someone develop that you're really proud of, where they've accomplished with it, and also of how the character developed?
I don't think there's probably one. I think I'd like to think that I had some influence in a lot of different people, but I think you've got to encourage the individual to try and be as creative as possible. I mean, you can certainly give them ideas, or certainly give them, or put them in storylines that may kind of suit what they're doing to enhance that. But at the end of the day, they really have to kind of get it themselves, because if you're not believing in what you're selling, you're never going to sell it and sell it well. So all you can do is just kind of encourage and sort of, within the realms of what you're doing in your show, and, get them to also experiment. I mean, the good thing about what we do is we go out and tour, and we do, smaller venues, and that's fun to go out and experiment and change up what you're doing, or change something different and see if it works or it doesn't work. I think that's where the fun is, and then the fun part of it and the nice part of it is to see when it does, and then the clicks in the guy's head and they go out and then it really does work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like testing the waters and dipping your toe in and finding what works best for that individual, then accentuating that. But have you seen a lot of guys struggle with that? Like, are they scared to take that step and really try things in a public setting like that?
No, I think most of my guys have been pretty open to it. I mean, certainly it doesn't always work in the fact that what works in one town doesn't work in another town. So, and we've done that on many different shows where we've had, we thought was the perfect mix of the guys and changing things up. And we thought we'll do that the next night. Not necessarily does the next night come off as great as the first night. And whether that's a variety of things or whether they're trying to change things. I think character development is something that comes with time. It comes with timing. It comes with experience, and it's just something that you either end up getting or don't. I mean, there's been people out there who I think have struggled for years and will never get it, and that's pretty evident to where they may end up or not end up. So for the fact of, I guess even like Jonah, Jonah had a long journey of what he did and where he's at. And then obviously having them go to WWE and then becoming Bronson Reed versus Jonah Rock and had to find his thing. And when he found his thing, it just took off, and it's just part of that grinding, working hard, getting out there, getting your name, and night by night, just slowly thinking. I mean, I think back when I was wrestling, it took me years to work out what I was or what Mark Mercedes was or my persona. It wasn't something that came in overnight or something that I woke up in the morning. It just happened,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's the thing.
I think is Randall, how far he's come along. He's always had a mask, but the character Randall has really developed, and he sort of found himself, and what he was doing, and what I said to him a bunch of times, what is a Randall? And it had him to work out what that was and what that character meant and how it was and whether he speaks, whether he doesn't speak, the mask, the way he looks, what he's doing, And I think he's another person who's really sort of come along a long way.
Yeah, and I think like even with pro wrestling characters and gimmicks, it's to be something different as well. And I think that would probably be hard for a lot of guys. Like you're sitting there going like, depending on which generation you grew up, I want to be the Stone Cold, the badass. I want to be the quick witted like The Rock. And I think not everyone can be those type of characters. And I think, obviously with a lot of guys, it takes time to really, as you said, finding out who they are. Like, as you said with Randall, who is a Randall? What is a Randall? People try and come in and recycle, past gimmicks, but if it's not them, you can really sense that it's not, and you can feel it through watching it.
Yeah. And getting back to, Cowboy Abbott, like when he first started, as I said, he did that MMA gig, I'm sure that was probably what he thought at the time was great, but I thought that looked horrible. But that was him, and that's where he had to start. Everyone has a starting place. Yeah. And I'm not sure he was maybe even comfortable doing the cowboy thing when he first got it, but when he got in there and gave it a go and was willing to give it a go, and he saw it had legs, he ran with it. And when he got comfortable with it, he really ran with it. And then I think when he really started to shine is when we started doing Tamworth Entertainment Centre up at Tractor up at New England. He ended up getting Toyota on board, and he came out in the Ute and like the thing, and he was coming out and he, really ran with it. And then just thought, wow, this is really taking off. And then sometimes that's what works, it's just thinking out the box and then sort of just running with it. And that's when sometimes the best moments happen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think Cowboy, Chris Abbott, the character as well, especially in Australia, like wrestling's had cowboys, it's had, that sort of style of gimmick.
Cowboys, let me tell you, you know what I mean?
Oh, dude, 100%. Like, I think Bret Hart was originally like scheduled to be like the cowboy Bret Hart when he came to WWF. It was like, I don't want to be a cowboy. But I think to be able to do a gimmick and like take like, so for example, the cowboy gimmick and put your own twist to it and make something that's been done time and time again, but make it unique to the individual. And that's kind of what I see with Chris Abbott, how he's done it with his character, really put the Australian side to it, but I think less of the 1980s stereotype Australian, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, like.
And I'm not sure when he came up with it. I mean, I'm sure he'll remind me, but I think it might have been around the Denny Ute Master that might have put him into it, or maybe that happened. But whatever it was just a bit of I guess that was a bit of a light bulb moment, or kind of, and then developed.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's got to suit the individual. I mean, that looked at him and suited him. Could Jackson Kelly be a cowboy? No, but that's why he's the beach bum Buddha. He's got that perfect looking, beach physique, the long hair, all that kind of stuff, and that's what works for him. And his certainly character's come a long way. So it's nice to see that when you're in the back and sort of trying to help the guys. It's just nice to see that they come up with a lot of their own ideas and come up and say, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? It's just a matter of nurturing and encouraging.
Oh, absolutely. But you guys have been touring for 25 years, Mark. And, one of the things we were going to talk about, but we ran out of time last time, was pretty much some crazy road stories. Now, IWA for 25 years has been in operation. Now, what's been some of the craziest times in IWA? I would be assuming the early stages into the early 2000s would probably be some of the crazier days. But what's been some of the crazier times for you in IWA over the years?
Oh dear, there's been so many. Unfortunately, a lot of them involve Phil Picasso.
Filthy Phil.
Like that.
Mate,
there's been a lot of crazy times. I mean, how do you not have crazy times when you put 12 people that sometimes are completely come from all walks of life, and you put them in a bus or a bunch of cars and say, hey, here's an idea. Let's go out and make minimal money and go on the road and travel 4 to 6 nights, 7 nights, sometimes even more back in the early days. Yeah. And see if we all get on and go out and then have a wrestling show, and then the next 22 hours trying to drive each other mad.
What could go wrong, Mark?
What could possibly go wrong? I think the beauty of what IWA was for a long time, that in the early days we kind of saw each other, especially for a long time there. It was we were almost like a band, and we really found the right kind of guys, the 8, 10 or 12 of us, and we found the right kind of gelling guys. We all went out and really enjoyed each other's company and had a lot of good fun. And when we had that, we almost became like the cricket side, or like Australian. It was very hard to get in. We gelled, and we wanted to be this band, and we were IWA. And then we got that right balance. We went out and we just tore up towns. We had so much fun. I mean, there's been so many, places we've gone to, from hotel complaints, waking up in the morning, getting kicked out of hotels at 6 a.m. in the morning because of parties, and, trucks breaking down in the middle of the road, in the absolute middle of nowhere, I mean, there's just so many different things that have gone on. I should really write a book. I really should.
Mate, you definitely should. The Crazy World of Australian Wrestling by Mark Mercedes. The book writes itself.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of writing a biography. It was Mark Mercedes' Life of Australian Wrestling, A Career in the Toilet. And
catchy name, bro.
Yeah. And there's just so many crazy stories, and they've been a lot of fun. And I couldn't think of anything that necessarily that was really bad, but yeah, I think probably was some of the funnier ones where, like, just sort of naturally happened. Like we had a January tour where our truck broke down, and what do you do now? How does a truck? Where do we go? Well, here's another one. We had a truck driver that we had hired, and he approached us at a show, and he said, "Look, you guys need a hand with ring crew." And I said, yeah, we'd like that. I've got a truck. I'd like to do this. Can I help you out? Yeah. So anyway, he ends up worked for us for quite a number of years. Anyway, and this is probably really bad on my behalf. Eventually, after several years, he goes to me, "Oh, look, Mark, I'm sorry, I can't work for you anymore." I said to him, "Why?" He goes, "Oh, look, I've gotten busted. I can't drive anymore. I can't drive the truck. I've been pulled over. I've lost my license." I said, "Oh." said, right. I said, why can't you drive? And he goes, I don't have a license. I said, you don't have a license? He goes, yeah. I said, how long have you not had a license for? He goes, oh, since paper licenses finished. I'm thinking, but hang on, you've been driving the truck for us unlicensed. Wasn't that like a prerequisite, a part of being on the road?
Yeah. Jesus. So,
Yeah,
so what happened? Did he end up having to go get his license, or was it just like
I don't know. It's just crazy things. It was just, and yeah, it was funny. It's funny. There's just so many different things that just went down. It was funny.
You mentioned Phil Picasso, and I was around the IWA shows a lot in the early 2000s because a buddy of mine worked for IWA, and I remember just seeing Phil and just going, "What the fuck, this guy!" Like, but the thing was, like, his gimmick was like was something else. Like, he was like this lunatic, crazed man. But like behind the scenes, like he was one of the nicest guys I'd ever meet. Little bit kooky, but like you'd have to be in pro wrestling, right?
Yeah, and look, me and Big Phil, towards the end, I guess, had a bit of a bad ending in the way that we end up separating business. And I'm not sure, I've got no heat with him. I mean, we worked together for many, many, many years. And like any kind of marriage, I guess, eventually you either get sick of each other or continue. And I think maybe Phil at that stage also was struggling for where he was in the show, and our show was changing dramatically. I think for a long time, at some point there during the point, we'd become maybe quite complacent in what we were doing. And then we finally had shaken some stuff up. And I guess he was one of the very last of that kind of era that was still hanging on as we're starting to get brand new talent. But look, Phil was with us for a long time, and he's exactly what you got. What you saw on stage is what was off stage. And sometimes when you woke up in the morning, you weren't sure what Phil you're going to get. But to his credit, he had turned up all the time and tried his best. He was fantastic with the kids. He went out there and gave it 100%. And whether you liked his matches or you didn't, he always was 100% about the show and about doing the right thing. And, he was very just committed, one crazy SOB. He just really was. He was nuts. But I think that was part of what allured him. And, still to this day, as much as I want to say it, we go to towns, people go, hey, that Phil Picasso is still wrestling, like people just remembered him. He was just an insane guy,
Yeah, man. Like it's, Phil was very intense in the ring. Like I remember just, going to my first IWA show and seeing some of the shots, and like I didn't know what a stiff worker meant or anything like that, but I was like sitting there going, shit, he just really punched the shit out of that guy. You know what I mean? Like I knew a shoot punch to a work punch, and I was just like, oh, like some of the brawls that him and AJ Freely had, back in those like
and like literally belted each other. It was nuts.
Like I remember seeing the dog collar match they had. They had I'm sure they had many of them, but they had a dog collar match, and like I was right in front of that and just seeing those punches going through. Like these guys were just going like, I've never seen like stiffer punches before in my life. These guys nearly killed each other in this match.
We had a funny thing. We had a January tour, and Big Phil was always renowned for making his own merchandise, and let's just say it wasn't probably the greatest quality of merchandise. So as to say to Phil, look, you can have it, but it has to be, this is unauthorized IWA merchandise, and you have your own little section, you sell your merchandise. So anyway, Phil plodded along, used to love coming on tour because he'd sell his little merchandise and make his money. That was until we hired a guy named Casey Jackson who came on and ended up thinking. And Casey was also a very entrepreneurial young guy, and went out and bought a whole bunch of really cool merchandise, flashy, bracelets and things and this. Anyway, the tour happened, and went on tour, and it was evident after night that Big Phil's takings and merchandise was going down and down and down. Casey was making more money. So we, of course, did the right thing and completely riled Phil up about the merchandise wars. We called it the merchandise wars. And we'll talk. Man, Casey's in. Casey, what's going on? He's planning to run you out of town with the merchandise, Big Phil. And we had poor Phil Big so riled up that we almost broke him. It was funny as hell. And I think we almost built it up to where there was a match between Casey and Big Phil, and it might have been like a merchandise on a pole match. And I'm sure he wanted to go out and just knock Casey out. It was funny. And the funniest thing was, on the last night of that show that had happened, he came back in, and what was insult to injury is he'd sold one DVD, and Casey had just sold a bunch of merchandise and sold out. It blew his stack. We'd gone out Ballina afterwards, and Big Phil was in a complete horrible mood because he'd sold one. It was, I want to quit. I'm done. I'm finished. I'm all everything else. Anyway, we're in a pizza shop, and we're in there, having pizza and everything afterwards, and Big Phil storms in. Casey's in there. They go, oh, no, this is going to end in tears. The one person who bought merchandise was in the pizza shop and said, Big Phil, showed him his DVD, and Big Phil was just over the moon.
Oh man, sometimes we all just need a little stroke of the ego, you know what I mean?
Funny as hell, but they're the funny little things that you remember, on the road that kind of make it. It's just.
But was Phil legit had heat with Casey because of this, or was he?
Phil had heat with anyone that just didn't see Phil's way. So. I think everyone in the crew at one stage had some form of an incident or an argument or something with Phil. But to his credit, he soldiered on and got up and dusted himself off and just did it, And he did it for years and years and years and years. He just loved the business. So,
yeah, man. Well, I remember one of the first guys I met in IWA when I got taken to a show was him and Frank the Tank. Those were the first two guys I met through my friend who used to work for IWA was Frank the Tank and Big Phil.
Whose finisher was the cannonball splash off the bottom rope.
But man, he was such a character, man. I remember him he's like, yeah, Mark was going to put me in the main event, but then he decided to put Billy Cole in instead, and I'm like, righto.
Yeah, I mean, back in the old Frank and Big Phil, they had matches, and Frank took a beating off Big Phil. So.
He was such a lovable guy, Frank the Tank. He was just harmless. But I do remember seeing a beating that Phil put on him, and I'm just like, I kind of felt bad for him, actually. But
yeah, now look, we had so many characters. In fact, I had a list of all the characters we had that have come through IWA in the years, and it's quite staggering when I start looking at some statistics of what we've done, and that's from cast and crew to the venues that we've done, the miles on the road that we've done. I don't even start thinking of the amount of beer that we've drank, and it's just 20 years of touring. It's insane.
Do you think if COVID or hopefully COVID has subsided, you said January 21st or January you have got the tour come up. Are you expecting for 2021 to be a big year for IWA touring wise?
Well, fingers crossed, right? I mean, hopefully the vaccine will come through and we'll kick off, and more normality will come through, and I can get back to touring, because that's what that's IWA. We'd certainly like to get back in more of a normal schedule next year. I can't promise anything, but as I guess more confidence comes in and more things back to normal, more venues will come back online and want to start having acts come back through their doors.
Yeah, and I think it's hopefully this vaccine comes in soon and we can start seeing a lot more wrestling shows. I know I'm excited to see, it's probably my first IWA show in many years this Saturday, so I'm really excited to be coming down there and supporting the guys. But we do have a question from Adam Pokrajak, who is a local Aussie wrestling fan. He wants to, otherwise known as Alcoholic Adam, he wants to know, what is the funniest Turkish Delight story? And I have to say, I hadn't watched wrestling in a little while, and I thought, IWA was the promotion that I'd known since I was young, so I'm going to check out what's IWA. The first thing I saw after a few years of being away from Aussie wrestling was I found Mehmet, the Turkish Delight. And
just when I got rid of a Big Phil, I inherited a Mehmet.
I'm going to say this, I became a huge fucking Mehmet Mark. He was hilarious. Like, what is? But anyway, I digress. Adam wants to know, what's your funniest Turkish Delight story?
Like Big Phil, I have so many. I think with Mehmet, he's just such a good sport. You know, he's up for anything, and he's also, it doesn't matter what the boys dare him to do, he will do it. And not only will he do it, he'll increase it and just turn the volume up on it. And I'm not sure if it's to impress the boys or to impress himself. I mean, things like, I'm sure there was a time where he ran maybe naked. We're going out to the back of Dubbo somewhere or in the back of Parks, and he got betted whether he would run naked down the street for 2 kilometers. And sure enough, I'm pretty sure he pulled his clothes off and he ran. It's just him. He's just, yep, done. But there's just so many. I mean, I couldn't pick one. You'd have to give me like a week to sit down and write them down. He certainly lives up any form of tour. And it was, he's a fun guy. And once again, you know, you want to get back to people starting. When he first came in and did his first couple of matches, he was the shyest, youngest kid you could have. And then, like anything else, and had all the passion and all the drive in the world. And I thought, wow, is this kid going to get anywhere? He certainly never had a great physique. He certainly, you know, at the time was nervous and had all these things, but just like this, just suddenly got it and found himself the Turkish Delight and ran with it. And before you know it, he was just, people just wanted him. It was just exploded. It was insane. That personality came out of him. It was almost something like that just didn't exist. And, you know, I certainly hope that he continues. I know he likes to have a bit of a break and come back and forward, but he certainly had a lot of fun. The time when he was in Dubbo, he got the silly string in the Birdman.
You want to tell us about that one?
I think there was a time, like many times you just do things to amuse him. I think there was a time where Silly String came onto the tour, and Silly String, you know, there were just everywhere you go, you'd walk backstage, you got Silly Stringed, or if you went into the car or something. I do believe maybe that was somewhere in reference to that. There's been times in tour where Silly Strings come in, fart bombs have come in, you know, times where, you know, all the old tricks of, you know, waking up and there's bird sound in your bed and just, you know, biscuits in your bed and all those kind of pranks that happen. I think like anything, as I said, when you get 12 guys on the road and they're, you know, mischief always happens.
All right, Mark. So I want to know this. You're the head of IWA. And to be honest, you're an intimidating guy. Not many people would really want to cross you. Who has done the best rib on you out of all the IWA boys over the years? That you've turned around at the end of the rib and just gone, fuck me, that was well played.
Who's done the best rib on me?
And have they lived to tell the tale?
Wow, that's another one I have to think of. Certainly, Silly String and those sort of things. I mean, there's a few that are kind of daring. I mean, Abbott will try and rib me. There's a couple of there's a few that have maybe tried. I guess probably the difference is that, you know, when I'm sort of at shows, I guess my function's a lot different. I'm not always there with the guys and bonding with the guys. I'm generally backstage or I'm with venues, I'm with management and doing things. So it's not like I'm necessarily interacting. But can I get back to you on that? I'm sure there is. One of the best ribs I think we've done, I'm not sure I was involved in it, was we were at the Denny Ute Muster. And, this is hilarious. And we're at the Denny Ute Master, and I think Abbott might have been behind this rib as well. And Keegan was there at the time. Anyways, we had devised and this rib on Keegan. We told him that Abbott was coming because there was helicopter rides there. Yeah. So we're up, obviously, one end in the main stage area, and there's thousands of people around, and then there's helicopter rides and things, and they're way over here. And we said to Keegan, look, what's going to happen is Abbott's going to, maybe it was Tyson Gibbs or Abbott was, anyway, someone was going to be in. We're going to do a Ric Flair entrance in the helicopter. Keegan, you're on camera. So whatever you do, They're going to walk over there, get in the helicopter. I want you to film the helicopter, film it around, make sure you do not lose sight of the helicopter. It's going to come right in, up next to the ring. People will scatter everywhere. They're going to get in the ring. Keegan thought it was the greatest thing that's ever happened. So anyway, whoever it was going, I'm not sure if it was Abbott or whoever it was, they ran out to the helicopter, and they must have hidden around or something. He's filming it, he's watching it, and then Keegan gets up and he's filming it. And as the helicopter goes, it starts going off and going down. We're saying, Keegan, follow it. So Keegan starts running about 100, 200 meters down the Denny Ute Master, following this helicopter, which is just doing fly rounds. Yeah. Meanwhile, 5 minutes started. The match has already started. Keegan's not even still watching the helicopter. The match has already started. He's got no clue. They're in there wrestling. It must have taken him about 10 minutes to realize suddenly there is no helicopter. The match is happening. It was funny, isn't it?
Fucking hell, man. I can just imagine someone running down there with a film. Hey, Mark, am I doing it right?
Do not waiting for this helicopter to mysteriously come and land. And he didn't even think to himself, like, how is there's like 2,000 people surrounding the ring in the area? Where is the helicopter going to land and let the boys come out? It was just insane, but it was funny as hell. So,
the world of pro wrestling, man. Anything's possible, bro.
Yeah.
But like over the years, like, everyone, through the 90s and the early 2000s, has there been like IWA rats over the years? Like, I don't know if is rats an allowed terminology in 2020?
It's a very politically correct.
Okay.
Yeah, look, I'm sure the boys have done very well over the years of when they go out. Once again, there's sometimes a bit of an age difference between the crew and me.
Please wait, back in your day, back in the early days of IWA.
Everyone goes out and has a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm sure a lot of the guys went out and have fun. And there's a lot of single guys in IWA, and there was a lot of guys that were also married with couples. So that it was a very different story. A lot of the time, certainly during my IWA, I was married and on the road, so I really wasn't that. But yeah, certainly, like anything, there's girls that came to the shows and the boys went out, and especially in some of those towns we went to, like Dubbo and the smaller towns, where the main attraction coming in, and then the guys go out and see it. So there's certainly minor celebrities for the evening. So there were some scores that would have, I'm sure, happened.
Fair enough. But Mark, look, I do want to be conscious of your time. So the show coming up on Saturday, what time does it kick off, and where can everyone, if they want to attend it, where can they attend it, and is it going to be viewable to be streamed anywhere?
We are, I believe it's a 7:30, 8 o'clock show, I think is our normal time there at St. John's. Tickets are still available, I believe, although we are capping the audience at a certain amount because of COVID. I'm sure the show is going to be filmed. I'm not sure whether it's going to be shown live or not. But I'm raring to go. It's been a long time since I've been at a wrestling show. It's weird to say that because it was my life, and it was my every weekend for so long.
And it must be strange, like having that 8-month gap, as you mentioned. Like you've never had this long of a break in your career since you started wrestling, Mark?
No, never. No, over 20 years, I don't think the longest probably I went out of wrestling was maybe about 4 weeks. So it's, I've never had a break of this magnitude. As I said, it's been nice, and I kind of really needed it, because I think sometimes, certainly after a long period, it becomes tedious, like any kind of job. And a lot of people don't appreciate how much goes in the back end of what we do as well. It's just not a matter of turning up on the Saturday. There's a lot of stuff that goes on to make sure that event happens. And when you're doing multiples of either 4 and 10 events a month, there's a lot of work that goes in and making sure that happens, and not even including, the publicity and the back end and all those different things that make it all work. So it's been, nice to have that little break and refresh myself.
And get you geared up and ready to go for Saturday, man.
Sure, I'm going to get geared up and get ready to go. The only gear I'll be getting up ready to go will be probably the following morning when I go to golf.
There you go, man. There you go. I don't know. I reckon we're going to see a Mark Mercedes come out of retirement on Saturday night. I'm just predicting it. I don't know. I could be completely off, But make sure you, if you're in Sydney, attend IWA Relentless at St John's, 7:30 p.m. kickoff, and it's going to be an amazing show. Mark, thank you so much for being a guest for part 2 on Shooting the Shit Uncensored. It's been an absolute pleasure. You're welcome back anytime. You have an open invitation on any show.
Thank you.
But no worries, Mark. Thank you again. And also thank you to our audience for tuning in and again for showing all the support to MWA and also Shooting the Shit myself. Guys, until next time, I'm Piers Austin. That's Mark Mercedes. And go IWA.